Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. The spark of revolution has been lit in the sea of stars, and now it's time to see if that flame can survive the cold vacuum of the Great Void. In our last episode, Jian Wushuang earned the respect of the Star Eater Rebellion by conquering the Star Altar. But a rebellion without resources is just a death wish. Today, we strike the supply lines. Chapters 211 through 215 follow Wushuang as he leads his first tactical offensive against the Heavenly Convoy, a massive fleet transporting void crystals intended to power the final stage of the Eclipse Pillar. This isn't a duel, it's a full-scale interstellar ambush. Wushuang must coordinate his rebel fleet while personally dealing with the convoy's protector, the Silver-Eyed Warden, a master of spatial manipulation who can fold space to crush entire ships. The first shot of the war is about to be fired. Chapter 211 starts now. Chapter 211. Give me an explanation. The origin is very enigmatic. There were many powerhouses with Yin-Yang Void Realm at the present, including a lot of powerhouses who reached the top of Yang Void Realm. But none of them comprehended the origin. Now, Jian Wushuang, a guy just in the primordial Golden Pill realm, comprehended the origin. The people stared at the figure below with fear who was slowly flying towards them. Despite seeing Jian Wushuang walking on air, they didn't feel surprised. After all, Jian Wushuang was able to comprehend the origin. Even though he was on the level of Golden Pill, it is believable for him to be able to fly due to it. The next moment, he had already appeared in front of the top experts. Jian Wushuang, with an indifferent expression, floated on the void, staring at the experts from the 12 Northwestern dynasties and the old sects. Your Excellencies of 12 Northwestern dynasties, I demand an explanation. Jian Wushuang said in an extremely cold voice with fierce fire burning in his eyes. The easternmost hunting was held in Sky Valley by the 12 Northwestern dynasties, so Jian Wushuang knew that experts of the 12 Northwestern dynasties must watch it in the void nearby. At this time, killers of the Blood Feather Tower intruded on the battlefield of the easternmost hunting to assassinate him, yet the experts of the 12 Northwestern dynasties did not react to this intrusion. How could Jian Wushuang not be angry? The 12 Northwestern dynasties held the easternmost hunting in this way? They really could not protect the geniuses attending the easternmost hunting and let them be killed by others freely? After hearing what Jian Wushuang said, the monarchs of the 12 Northwestern dynasties looked embarrassed. They even didn't dare to look straight at Jian Wushuang, because they clearly knew that they should be responsible for it. They should give Jian Wushuang an explanation indeed. Jian Wushuang. A mighty voice sounded. It was the monarch of the Immortals Killing Empire, the frivolous man. However, he was not as arrogant as before, looking toward Jian Wushuang apologetically at this moment. For what happened today, we, the 12 Northwestern dynasties, apologize wholeheartedly, but we must explain that we had nothing that we could have done to prevent this. We can't give you an explanation that would satisfy you. What I can tell you is, the force that wanted to kill you is far beyond our endurance range. The 12 Northwestern dynasties are like ants in front of that force. It can make us perish without a sweat. The force wanted to kill you and we weren't capable to stop it. After saying that, the flippant man let out his breath and directly closed his eyes. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but squint. He understood something from what the monarch of the Immortals Killing Empire said. It was not only the Blood Feather Tower who wanted to kill him, but now another force, a much more dangerous one, had the same goal. The force was so horrible that the 12 Northwestern dynasties were extremely frightened by it. Therefore, even though the Blood Feather Tower intruded on the field of the easternmost hunting to assassinate him, they did not dare to stop the event. There really is a more horrible force behind Blood Feather Tower, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. He had guessed that Blood Feather Tower was not as simple as it had appeared. His guess was now finally confirmed. However, what Jian Wushuang didn't expect was that the force behind Blood Feather Tower was so powerful. Even the Wilderness Sword sect, one of the 8 top sects in Nanyang, could not frighten the 12 Northwestern so much that they were incapable to retaliate. After thinking about that, Jian Wushuang understood why the 12 Northwestern dynasties didn't help him. He turned his sight towards Di Shi. Di Shi still sat on the seat, looking at Jian Wushuang. His eyes were full of apologies and embarrassment. Jian Wushuang nodded at Di Shi slightly. He knew that Di Shi was forced not to help him. Apparently, There are so many people in the world wanting to kill me, Jian Wushuang sneered and said. Did you realize that only now? A cold voice came from the void beside him. It was Grey Robe who was speaking. Jian Wushuang looked over at the man in a grey robe, narrowing his eyes and said, "If I didn't guess wrong, you are Sir Grey Robe of Bloodfeather Tower?" Grey Robe said coldly, "You flatter me. Jian Wushuang, it was out of my expectation that your strength had advanced to such a high extent. Even though we had sent all the elite killers, they collapsed at the first blows. If I have known that you would reach such a level, I wouldn't have underestimated you and killed you personally." Well, it's too late to be regretful now, Jian Wushuang said. "Not too late. I can get rid of you right now." When Grey Robe said that, a blood-red blade appeared in his hand. Meanwhile, a blast of aura of the Yang Void Realm burst out strongly. The soaring aura spread out. The Yang Void Realm was much stronger than the Yin Void Realm. Jian Wushuang perceived the blast of aura, the battle intent rising in his cold eyes. Good, I want to see how strong an expert in the Yang Void Realm is. After finishing his words, Jian Wushuang stepped forward fiercely. He had combined 4 kinds of sword essence and simultaneously comprehended sword way source. Therefore, he emanated the roaring sword essence at this moment. The fearful sword essence formed a huge storm between the sky and ground, not scattering for a long time. While the fighting in the battlefield of the easternmost hunting had only started raging on, dozens of purple-robed figures spared no efforts to rush from the void of the easternmost plain to the sky valley. At the center of these purple-robed figures, a man sat on a purple cloud condor. It was Wang Yuan. Wretch! The force behind Bloodfeather Tower is so powerful. I should have known that they won't easily let off the third younger brother. Indeed, Bloodfeather Tower has taken action, and chose to kill him in the easternmost hunting. But it's lucky that the killers are from Bloodfeather Tower and experts of that force haven't stepped in this battle. The third younger brother has a chance to survive. I hope the third younger brother can hold on. Wang Yuan looked worried. He originally stayed comfortably in Dragon Palace, but suddenly received a message that a large number of experts set out for the easternmost plain. Wang Yuan immediately presumed that Bloodfeather Tower was aiming at Jian Wushuang. Therefore, he brought his experts over here at once. I don't know why Holy Emperor Palace wants to kill the third younger brother. The third brother is just a warrior in the primordial gold core realm now. What's more, his ancestors were born in the mansion of Sword Marquis in the Qianzong dynasty. How did he offend Holy Emperor Palace? Wang Yuan murmured confusingly to himself. He clearly knew that the horrible force behind Bloodfeather Tower was Holy Emperor Palace. Even he and his sect were exceedingly fearful of Holy Emperor Palace. How could such a horrible overlord want to kill Jian Wushuang, a man just of the primordial gold core realm? It's unreasonable. No matter how confused Wang Yuan was, that was what Holy Emperor Palace did. Chapter 212, Fighting Against Grey Robe. Rumble! A terrible breath of Yang Void Realm burst from Grey Robe while an overwhelming sword essence exuded from Jian Wushuang. They stared at each other. The moment their aura reached the peak, they disappeared at the same time. When they appeared in the void, the 2 scary attacks were colliding on head. The movement Jian Wushuang displayed was idealistic form, the first move of the selfless sword technique. Combining 4 sword essences, and most important, containing a stream of origin, the strike was powerful. On the other side, the blood-red blade Grey Robe struck was perfectly combined with drip sword essence and dark sword essence. When it came to the comprehension of sword essence, Jian Wushuang, who grasped the origin, was much better than Grey Robe. But Grey Robe, an expert of the Yang Void Realm, was much stronger than Jian Wushuang in cultivation of spiritual power. Bang! After the crash, Jian Wushuang shivered and his right hand, holding the long sword, became numb. Go to hell! With a sudden shout, Grey Robe turned his blood-red blade into a blood shadow of a ghost, appearing in front of Jian Wushuang soundlessly. Hooah! 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 He consistently hacked 4 times, and each time, the blood-red blade was as fast as lightning striking down the earth. Jian Wushuang fended against them successfully, but his body was beaten back. Star-destroying! Grey Robe shouted. With just a shout, the whole vicinity started to rumble. With a sudden outburst, a horrible breath gathered in Grey Robe, and then the blood-red blade slashed in Jian Wushuang direction. A blood shadow flew across the void. Even the air was split without mercy. As far as eyes could see, a giant blood shadow like a crescent blood moon which carried unparalleled power suddenly showed up over Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang made a slight pupil constriction, and he could only raise his triple-kill sword to withstand the attack. Bang! Whoosh! After a thud, Jian Wushuang was absolutely hit and fell down on the plains of the sky valley beneath. Like a meteorite falling, Jian Wushuang slammed into the ground, which immediately shook the earth. All at once, a giant hole turned up. Even when it came to this point, the battle wasn't over at all. Grey Robe showed up above the giant hole. Go to hell! With the roaring killing intent in his eyes, Grey Robe waved his blood-red blade and stabbed along the void. There were ripples floating in the void, and they eventually turned into a crazy rotating bloody rainbow, which, like an electric drill, struck toward Jian Wushuang who was in the hole. Rumble, the whole earth was frantically quivering. A mass of gravel and dust scattered everywhere, forming an awful storm. However, a giant spiral cave appeared on the ground when everything dissipated. A cave around dozens of meters deep. But there was nothing at the bottom of the cave, even not a hint of any existence of a human being. How could he avoid this? Grey Robe looked aghast. By consistent attacks, he wanted to make sure not to give Jian Wushuang any chance to endure it and recover. But Jian Wushuang somehow avoided his attack, making his plan fall apart. Is this the real strength of an expert of the Yang Void Realm? Standing in the void, Jian Wushuang stared at the giant cave with his cold eyes and said, "It is true that you are much stronger than the experts at the peak of the Yin Void Realm just by strength alone." However, Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked straight at Grey Robe. His cold voice echoed between the heaven and the earth. "Merely using strength to get rid of me? How could you have even thought that would be enough to kill me? You are not qualified." As soon as Jian Wushuang got his last word out, he made a flash move and then appeared in front of Grey Robe. He moved so fast that it seemed like teleportation. Then Jian Wushuang raised his sword, a strike lashing out. The first move of the selfless sword technique, idealistic form. As the sword shadow swept through it, the power of the origin reached the apex instantaneously. Wearing a sullen look, the Grey Robe snorted and waved his blade, whose power had also reached an overpowering amount. But when they had a head-on collision this time, Grey Robe was startled that he could not gain the upper hand at all. Then Jian Wushuang started to perform his swordsmanship again. But this time it was the second move of the selfless sword technique, solipsistic form. As an original sword technique, the selfless sword technique had the most horrible power if the origin was applied to it. In addition, the latter one was naturally much more powerful than the former in the upper 6 moves. Solipsistic form was more powerful than idealistic form. Confronted with this strike, Grey Robe hurried to block it at once. Just a moment later, he felt a great force passing through his arms, which made him feel a sharp pain in the arms, and he could not help but stagger and step back. Right after that, Jian Wushuang continued to display Sky Isolating Form, the third move of the selfless sword technique. This move was the strongest that he had at present. Due to the quality of his preparation of the move, he was able to efficiently show the extent of his strength. A stunning glowing golden light lashed out with great power, eventually hitting the blood-red blade of Grey Robe violently. Even the universe was shocked by it. Then people could see the blood-red blade in the Grey Robe's hand drastically shaking and even starting to curve. That horrible power passed into the Grey Robe's body from the arms down. Grey Robe lost hope. His body could not help but retreat. "Excuse me, you said you wanted to kill me?" Holding his triple-kill sword, Jian Wushuang stood in the void with a cold look on his face. There was an overwhelming sword essence around him, and his cold words echoed between the heaven and earth, which made him seem like a matchless blade master. Grey Robe fell into total astonishment. In the void, the experts from the 12 dynasties and the old sects could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. As an expert such as Yang Void Realm, he was repelled by Jian Wushuang with merely 3 moves. Although he was only repelled instead of being defeated or killed, it still proved that Jian Wushuang was no worse than the Grey Robe, or even better than him according to their real strength. How could one of the primordial gold core realm repel an expert of the Yang Void Realm? Everyone was dumbstruck. Grey Robe's look at present was extremely sullen. He had never thought that Jian Wushuang, who was in the primordial gold core realm, could have so much battle strength to rival him. Origin. It must be the origin. The legendary origin was so horrible. The Grey Robe could not help thinking of it. The experts of the 12 dynasties and the old sects also supposed that Jian Wushuang was so strong because of the origin. But in fact only Jian Wushuang himself knew that powerful as the origin could be, it couldn't make one of primordial gold core realm fight against an expert of the Yang Void realm. Despite the benefit of the origin, the victory against Grey Robe can be more attributed to the heavenly creation skill. A cultivation method which defied the natural order. Indeed, he was in the exceptional gold core realm, but when his spiritual power erupted with the help of supreme gold core, he was not weaker than experts in the initial Yin Void realm. As a result, they should not regard him as a normal expert of the exceptional gold core realm. Instead, he should be treated as an expert of the initial Yin Void realm. Chapter 213, Shameless. An expert of the primordial golden pill realm able to contend with an expert of the Yang Void realm was indeed unbelievable. If Jian Wushuang was an expert of the initial Yin Void realm, it would be acceptable that he could fight against the experts of Yin Void realm. Jian Wushuang was an ostensible expert of the primordial gold core realm already, but his strength was not weaker than that of the expert of the initial Yin Void realm on every aspect. At that moment, the Grey Robe's face was totally distorted. He definitely hadn't thought that despite the fact that he spared no effort to attack Jian Wushuang, he failed to achieve anything. That the end result made him end up on the losing side. What should I do next? Grey Robe's eyes became bleak. He led a great number of elites from Blood Feather Tower to attack Jian Wushuang, but those elite purple mask killers were all killed by Jian Wushuang. Such a huge loss. If Jian Wushuang was not killed now, it should be known that he had already tried assassinating Jian Wushuang twice, but both of those times failed. A third failure was always not allowed in Blood Feather Tower. Therefore, he had to kill Jian in the third assassination. If it failed, as the leader, he surely would be killed according to the Blood Feather Tower's rules. But he didn't want to die. This guy now is strong enough to fight with me openly. I can't kill him alone, unless Grey Robe slightly squinted his eyes and then looked toward the experts of the 12 dynasties as well as the old sects. Gentlemen, is there anyone who would like to help me kill him? Blood Feather Tower promises to repay the favor, Grey Robe said in a resonant voice sounding around the whole void. Hearing this, every expert above the void showed strange expressions. Oh, since he is incapable of killing Jian Wushuang, should he expect us to help him? Grey Robe is cunning. I'm not willing to deal with the little guy since we don't have any hatred between us. Jian Wushuang has marvelous talent, which makes me admire him even more so. For that, I won't attack him. The experts from the 12 dynasties and the old sects didn't take action as Grey Robe had hoped. Meanwhile, those experts all looked at Grey Robe with sarcastic eyes. Who was Jian Wushuang? He was the peerless genius joining the Easternmost hunting. In the Easternmost hunting, what Jian Wushuang performed was very stunning. It shocked everyone. When Blood Feather Tower directly tried to assassinate Jian Wushuang in the Easternmost hunting, all 12 dynasties felt guilty for that they couldn't help Jian Wushuang because they feared the force behind Blood Feather Tower. At that moment, how should Grey Robe expect them to kill Jian Wushuang? The face is as important to a man as the bark is to a tree. Those experts from the 12 dynasties were all monarchs, and how could they have no sense of shame? Jian Wushuang, the monarch of the Cosmos Empire, that weathered elder, said it in a low voice at this moment. Monarchs from other dynasties all looked over at the weathered elder. Among those 12 dynasties, he was the only one that had a reason to deal with Jian Wushuang. At that time, the weathered elder slightly raised up his head and solemnly looked at Jian Wushuang, firmly saying, although, in the Easternmost hunting, this guy has killed many talents from my empire, which humiliates me greatly. But the Easternmost hunting is originally a fierce competition between talents from the 12 dynasties. Talents from my Cosmos Empire are only to blame themselves for their death because of their weak abilities. So, I have to bear their fault alone. But now, there is a chance to fight with this guy. Why not have a try? The weathered elder glimpsed Grey Robe with disdain. None of the monarchs from the 12 dynasties were willing to take any action, and neither did the experts from the old sects. All of them disregarded what Grey Robe said. The grey robe's face turned pale and yelled immediately, "Gentlemen, you should know that it is that force that wants Jian Wushuang to be dead, not the Blood Feather Tower. Who helps me kill him will be repaid by that force. It is the best chance to get in touch with that force. Don't you want to get their favor?" Now, what he said did intrigue the experts present that they would perhaps even consider the offer. However, the 12 dynasties and the experts from the old sects still kept calm. The only one who was considerably swayed at the moment was Mo Lingtian, who came from the Wilderness Sword sect. Mo Lingtian originally disliked Jian Wushuang. Seeing Jian Wushuang being at the center of an assassination even brought him pleasure. But now what Grey Robe said indeed motivated him. It should be known that the force was Holy Emperor Palace. He clearly knew that Holy Emperor Palace's power should never be underestimated. In recent years, the integral status of our Wilderness Sword sect has been in a decline. There are less talented disciples and experts in the sect. They gradually fell in rank and now are the last in the top 8 sects, and some smaller sects even want to remove us from their current position. If I can have something connected with Holy Emperor Palace, the Wilderness Sword sect would undoubtedly have a much higher status due to the influence that Holy Emperor Palace wields. And personally, I would have made an immeasurable contribution to the sect. The contribution would be immeasurably unique and influential, making me, the law-enforcing elder, one of the top leaders of the sect. In decades, perhaps my name also will appear on the election of a new sect master. When Mo Lingtian thought about it, his eyes became soldering hot, gleaming with the future he had envisioned. Whereafter, he rushed towards Grey Robe. "Ha ha. Mr. Grey Robe, right? I'm Mo Lingtian from the Wilderness Sword sect. I'm willing to help you." Chipper laughter spread. Then Mo Lingtian appeared beside Grey Robe. Seeing Mo Lingtian, Jian Wushuang's face changed. On the nearby void, 12 dynasties and those experts from the old sects couldn't help being stunned and angry. "Mr. Lingtian, don't you think this is overdoing it to deal with a guy in the Golden Core level? Mr. Lingtian, please behave yourself. Mo Lingtian, you are the law-enforcing elder of the Wilderness Sword sect, one of the 8 sects of Nanyang. Should you do such dishonor to yourself and your sect, bullying someone lesser than you?" Many experts stood up to rebuke him. Although they called him Mr. Lingtian to show a hint of respect to him, they actually despised him from the bottom. Shameless. Too shameless. She couldn't help scolding him angrily. Chapter 214. Elevate Strength Again? Shameless. Indeed shameless. The experts from the 12 dynasties and the old sects were all glaring at Mo Lingtian. Those idiots. Mo Lingtian didn't care those gazes and sneered in mind. In the presence of huge interests, I prefer to be brazen. That's a little cost as long as I could connect our sect with Holy Emperor Palace. Jian Wushuang also looked at the abruptly emerging Mo Lingtian. Wilderness Sword Sect? A solemn look appeared on Jian Wushuang's face. Before the point grab battle in the Sky Valley, he heard that although there were lots of experts from the old sects, the most flamboyant sect was the Wilderness Sword sect, and it was one of the top sects. The sect was one of the most suitable sects for Jian Wushuang due to it focused on the sword principle. Therefore, Jian Wushuang originally was full of expectation for the Wilderness Sword sect. But now, Jian Wushuang rejoiced at not joining the Wilderness Sword sect. "Are you Mo Lingtian from the Wilderness Sword sect?" Jian Wushuang looked at Mo Lingtian. "Yes," Mo Lingtian nodded and said, "Little guy, you should call me Master Lingtian." "So unmannered. Is that what your parents teach you?" My parents didn't teach me how to be a shameless man like you." Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. "I originally wanted to join the Wilderness Sword sect. But now I will pass. The Wilderness Sword sect seems to cultivate shameless experts. Ridiculous. Compared with numerous geniuses in our Wilderness Sword sect, you are nothing." Mo Lingtian sneered. "Mr. Lingtian, it's not imperative to tell him so much. Kill him right now," the grey-robed man shouted. "Take it easy. He will die beyond any doubts." Mo Lingtian was confident. After all, his confidence was based on the fact that he was a real expert at the peak of the Yang Void realm. Compared with Grey Robe, who was merely at the initial Yang Void realm, Mo Lingtian was 3 levels stronger. Mo Lingtian began to have a gait, and his aura was emanated. The aura was stronger than before when he took another step. The terrific aura overwhelmed Jian Wushuang and made him harder to breathe. Peak of the Yang Void Realm. Jian Wushuang's face fell. Then he raised his head and roared. Mo Lingtian. Mo Lingtian looked up at Jian Wushuang again. Jian Wushuang's eyes were imbued with terrific killing intent. You have chosen who to side with, and your decision is set in stone in my eyes. Today, it may be impossible for me to hurt you. But there will be a day when you will be laying down on the ground motionless. In the future. I think you should focus on surviving right now. Mo Lingtian was laughing and didn't care what Jian Wushuang said. Mo Lingtian's figure burst out. During the burst, the terrific aura was condensed to an extreme amount and the surrounding air was solidified completely because of it. When Jian Wushuang saw Mo Lingtian dashing towards him, he shrank his eyes and turned around to run away. Escape? Mo Lingtian smiled coldly and continued chasing Jian Wushuang. As an expert at the peak of the Yang Void Realm, his speed was faster than Jian Wushuang's. It would not take him much time to catch up with Jian Wushuang. However, he did not know that Jian Wushuang chose to run in the opposite direction not because he wanted to escape but because he was executing a secret kill. A secret skill, that takes one's soul. A glimpse of madness flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes and the soul-taking secret skill was executed. Executing the soul-taking secret skill needed some time, therefore, he had no choice but to get some distance. In the process of escaping, he executed the secret skill. With executing the soul-taking secret skill, a horrible engulfing power burst out from Jian Wushuang immediately and began to engulf the surrounding area, taking anything that was alive. Jian Wushuang escaped inside the jungle in the Sky Valley. The effect that the skill had on the environment was horrifying. The surrounding trees, which he passed by, began to dry up instantly and then become deadwood. The below ground also turned yellow and became dried as if a drought has been in place for decades. Abundant living qi flowed into Jian Wushuang's body and it made Jian Wushuang's aura surge up immediately. Initially, his aura was at the level of the exceptional gold core realm. But in a short time span, the aura was at the peak of the gold core realm. Subsequently, it was still surging up to break through the gold core realm and reach the initial yin void realm. After reaching the initial yin void realm, the surging aura had ceased. Just the initial yin void realm? Jian Wushuang frowned. He had reached the exceptional gold core realm, but now he merely reached the initial yin void realm after executing the soul-taking secret skill. He was not gratified with the improvement of only one level. Only the first volume of the soul-taking secret skill is less useful than before for me, Jian Wushuang said secretly. The soul-taking secret skill was divided into 3 volumes. He only had the first volume. The first volume was useful for him previously because his battle strength could be improved several levels after executing it. However, with the improvement of his realm, it was apparent that merely having the first volume was limiting him. Despite only going up by 1 level, it's better than nothing. The killing intent flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Detecting the sound of wind behind him, he knew that Mo Lingtian had caught up to him. Without hesitance, Jian Wushuang turned around and his triple-kill sword was trembling in his hand. With a lugubrious echo of the sword, the long sword burst out directly. Selfless sword technique, sky isolating form. A combination of 4 sword essences. Sword Wei Source. The cultivation of spiritual power was comparable to the initial yin void realm after executing the heavenly creation skill, plus the 100-fold strength because of the surging supreme gold core realm. Complete activation. Boom! A streak of shining golden flowing light appeared in this world. The golden flowing light caught everyone's eyes instantly. The golden flowing light was brutal, overbearing, and irresistible. Go to hell! At that moment, Mo Lingtian waved a long sword and chopped casually. Although the swordsmanship was normal, the cultivation of spiritual power at the peak of the Yang Void Realm burst out. Thud! A huge roar resounded through the sky. When the 2 horrible attacks interacted, the void formed a blast wave, which even naked eyes could see, creating ripples throughout the exchange of attacks. Hua hua! Many surrounding trees were immediately cracked from their trunks and in a short time, more than 100 trees had collapsed. After the confrontation, Jian Wushuang moved back, but so did Mo Lingqian retreated 3 steps. What? After standing firm, Mo Lingqian looked at Jian Wushuang anew and his complexion was filled with aghastness. This move didn't kill him? Mo Lingqian was surprised because he was an expert at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Logically speaking, an expert at the peak of the Yang Void Realm could outclass a man at the initial Yang Void Realm easily. However, Jian Wushuang did not die and he even was able to withstand the attack. His battle strength improved? Even Mo Lingqian felt sincerely astonished. Chapter 2:15. You Must Die. Boom! Jian Wushuang hit 3 trees successively like shells. The trees collapsed, and then his body came to a halt. An expert at the peak of the Yang Void Realm is powerful indeed. Jian Wushuang's eyes were slightly cold and he was imbued with helplessness. An expert at the peak of the Yang Void Realm was much stronger than Greyrobe in the initial Yang Void Realm. Although his strength surged after executing the soul-taking secret skill, it still was lacking in power to fight Mo Lingqian. Mo Lingqian's casual move, which didn't require that much effort apparently, could still outclass him easily. I cannot defeat him. Just in a single encounter, Jian Wushuang realized how far apart are his and Mo Lingqian's capabilities. There was no choice but to escape. But before leaving, whoosh! Suddenly, Jian Wushuang turned around and dashed out. Little guy, do you still want to escape? Mo Lingqian was roaring with anger and he didn't want to let Jian Wushuang slip away at all. But Jian Wushuang only took a few steps before he changed direction. What? Mo Lingqian was stunned for a second and then he realized that the direction Jian Wushuang was dashing towards was where Greyrobe was located. Does he want to kill Greyrobe? Oh no! Realizing that, Mo Lingqian became much more serious and dashed towards the same direction. Above the void, Greyrobe gave a treacherous smile thinking that Jian Wushuang would be killed by Mo Lingqian. Suddenly, he saw Jian Wushuang dashing toward him. Heh! A flicker of fear appeared in Greyrobe's eyes. He saw the entire process that Jian Wushuang fought with Mo Lingqian. Although Jian Wushuang was outclassed, Jian Wushuang's outbreaking strength was stronger than his. Now, Jian Wushuang was dashing toward him with pure killing intent. Greyrobe felt a slight tremble of fear within his heart, but quickly enough he calmed himself down. After all, he was only at the level of the primordial gold core. I don't think he will make it. Greyrobe was roaring and his blood-red blade flashed a chilly light in his hand. Then he started levitating. Jian Wushuang was filled with killing intent as he stared at Greyrobe. Other than you, everyone present can leave unharmed. The killing intent was roaring. The triple kill sword lashed out and the golden flowing light swept again in a short time. Insect, go to hell. Greyrobe was roaring and his blood-red blade stabbed towards Jian Wushuang. Slam! With a loud voice, the terrific power was sweeping around crazily. Greyrobe's pupils dilated at this time. He lowered his head and saw a bowl-like gaping hole in his chest. The gaping hole went through his body and punctured his heart. Greyrobe's eyes still revealed a gleam of disbelief. However, his breath began to dissipate and his body shortly thereafter fell down on the ground. He was too arrogant. He had never thought that a warrior at the primordial gold core realm could kill him. However, even before performing the soul-taking secret skill, Jian Wushuang was on equal grounds with the Greyrobe in terms of power. Greyrobe did not expect that Jian Wushuang became much stronger than him with the help of the soul-devouring secret skill. Had the Greyrobe turned around to escape when he saw Jian Wushuang dash towards him instead of confronting him, he might have had a chance to live. His arrogance had cost his life. Damn it! Seeing Greyrobe's death, Mo Lingqian gave a solemn look. He wanted to connect to Holy Emperor Palace via Greyrobe. But now, Greyrobe was killed by Jian Wushuang. Little guy, you should die without mercy. The aura from Mo Lingqian had surged to a shocking level. After killing Greyrobe, Jian Wushuang immediately continued to run, but he was much slower compared to Mo Lingqian. There is no obstacles above the void. It's easy for him to chase me at this speed unhindered. But as long as I run into the jungle, I may escape successfully. Jian Wushuang thought secretly. Even in this time, he could still keep level-headed and search for a way to escape. However, At this point, whoosh! A purple-robed figure appeared behind him without any notice. Ha! Jian Wushuang was surprised by this, as he did not expect anybody other than Mo Lingqian to follow him. But it was obvious that the purple-robed person did not want to fight with him because he was blocking Mo Lingqian. This person. Mo Lingqian also saw the person and was confused by the sudden appearance. But the purple-robed person had said nothing since his appearance. The individual was only standing in between Mo Lingqian and Jian Wushuang. Soon enough the person clenched his right palm into a fist and then began to attack Mo Lingqian. What? Mo Lingqian was not only surprised but confused as well. The moment the purple-robed person gave the first punch, Mo Lingqian felt a terrific power instantly. Although he did not have this power, he was familiar with it. Origin. After letting out a scream of terror, Mo Lingqian's long sword was taken out without any indiscretion. This time, he performed the strongest move in his life. A streak of the sword shadow drew a special ring, just like a thunderbolt, and then burst out swiftly and violently at the unknown individual. The sword shadow appeared in front of the purple-robed person directly. Instantly, the punch the purple-robed person gave became more powerful. Bang! With a loud noise, the void seemed to be distorted. Many streaks of intangible ripples were waving. In the beginning, it was very quiet, but then, the ripples formed into a terrific salvo of a power storm. The power storm was sweeping above the void without any obstruction. Likewise, above the void, the experts from the 12 dynasties and the old sects all became the storm's target indiscriminately. All of them could not help but close their eyes. The two terrifying power were crashing into each other. However, suddenly, hearing the fracture of his bone, Mo Lingqian widened his eyes and only felt that the enormous power was transmitted through his right hand. In an instant, all the bone in his right arm fractured. Then he started to feel blood in his throat, making him vomit a mouthful of blood, before violently retreating. One punch. Mo Lingqian, who was at the expert at the peak of the Yang Void realm, suffered serious injuries due to a single punch. Above the void, everything became still and silent. The experts from the 12 dynasties and the old sects were all staring at the purple-robed person with pure shock. They all found that not only the purple-robed person reached the peak of the Yang Void realm, but also comprehended the origin. Such experts stood at the top of the pyramid in the Nanyang continent. They were only weaker than the legendary experts who were divine transcendents. Now, such an expert appeared before them. And with the total collapse of the Heavenly Convoy, we conclude Chapter 215. Wushuang has secured the crystals the rebellion needs, but the Silver-Eyed Warden didn't fall without a final act of spite. Before retreating, he sent a high-frequency distress signal directly to the Divine Sovereign's palace. The secret of the rebellion's hidden base in the nebula is no longer safe. The Sovereign's response will be swift, and it will be brutal. Wushuang has gained a mountain of resources, but he has also invited the full might of the Empire to his doorstep. Join us next time for chapters 216 through 220, as the rebellion prepares for the siege of the nebula, and Wushuang is forced to use the void crystals to undergo a dangerous, accelerated breakthrough. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you're ready for the defense of the Sea of Stars, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.